And Jane, it's over to you.
Thank you very much for that, Claudia. You introduced my interviewee, Mo Senne, and we were just touching on there about what sort of clarity we can expect today from Tito Mboweni when it comes to fighting gender-based violence. What is it that you want to hear in that budget speech?
I think the core of what needs to be focused on right now is transparency and good governance. For instance, the National Emergency Response Plan is lacking in detail. It's not measurable. So they can't, for instance, say if you're going to expand on sexual offenders or broadening the category, what does that mean? What are going to be the new definitions for that? Because remember, the public has the fundamental right to comment on laws and regulations, on the people who have been elected to serve them, as well as the disposition of state assets and revenue. So in this case, we don't have a sense of transparency. We don't know how money is going to be allocated, and that makes it difficult to track how many of the focus areas that are in the emergency response plan are going to get a certain amount of funding. How much is that funding? They said that they want to focus on involving all sectors and organizations, but who are they? Will we be able to go back to them and hold them accountable to say, this is the amount of money that you got, this was your action deliverable, but it is failing in that regard. And also the 1.6 billion that has been announced, it's not new money. There have been several departments, for instance, the DSD and SAPS, they've sent back close to $1 billion back last year. So it's not like they've focused solely on trying to raise money for GBV. It's just something that they've recycled, and rather I think it's because of the uproar and all these cases that keep coming up that they just want to make it seem as they're giving a concession. So everything is well good on paper, but implementing it at this stage, it's going to be very hard to combat the corruption, because some of the people who will be delegated or allotted the money, then we will not be able to say this money went to this person to do this supposed thing and this is what it has done. So the plan in itself doesn't show that. Even Correctional Services has said that. The DA spokesperson on women and youth has said that as well. So there's no confidence because there's no transparency, and thus there can never be good governance if we don't really know what's going on.
What sort of money would you like to see? Where would you like to see it go? And I mean, you say that there's still no detail, which is extraordinary. I'm just wondering if you think it is being taken seriously. You look at the fracas in Parliament, where gender-based violence was used as a political tool. The German government giving NGOs who fight this BMWs in the fight. I mean, are we taking it seriously? No.
You see, the BMW thing was honestly laughable and ridiculous for me. How many people within those specific disadvantaged groups are going to want to go to the police station in that very small vehicle? And there's only 5 of them, and there's no need for it to be that expensive, honestly. But
so it's more than money, isn't it? It's
yeah, it's like saying I blew this much amount on these certain assets, and this is what they're supposed to do, whereas you have the SAPS, the very same ones who are underfunded and send victims back to their perpetrators who say they don't have vehicles. Why don't you invest in that? The SAPS itself, there is 74% of detectives and 67% of visible policing who are still not trained. They are not compliant with the very same Domestic Violence Act that they want to now amend. So I'm not sure how that is going to be amended if already within their curriculum they are supposed to have attended these sessions and they didn't. And that's a very large amount of detectives who are running around here without proper training, and I think it accounts for so many of the cases that go cold and say that they can't be prosecuted because the people who are supposed to deal with this are not properly trained.
Okay, so Mo Senne, I mean, some of that money obviously needs to go to training police. It needs to go towards educating people. We're broadcasting live from UJ because it really represents what's happening in South Africa, the missing middle ground, the anger over the historical debt, and also because it is victim, like so many other universities, to gender-based violence. We've been speaking to students, which we're going to bring to you their thoughts in the 8 about what it is that they want from Tito Mboweni's budget, and a lot of it has got to do with jobs.